Welcome, dear Vintage Mike Tales family, to another heart-touching journey. Tonight's story is one of love, loss, and the miracle of second chances. It's about Bridget, a woman who gave away the heart of the man she loved, only to find that same heart leading her to a new beginning with Nicolas. This is a story of promises kept beyond time, of healing and of love that never stops beating. Thank you for being here to experience it with me. Let's begin. The scent of antiseptic lingered in the hospital room, sharp and sterile, unable to mask the quiet decay of fading life. Machines beeped in slow, steady rhythms, a cruel reminder that time was slipping away. Bridget Thompson sat beside the bed, her fingers entwined with her husband Michael's trembling hand. He looked nothing like the strong, broad-shouldered man she had fallen in love with 12 years ago. His once vibrant brown skin seemed dull now, stretched thin over sharp cheekbones. His breath was shallow, his chest rising and falling with effort. Bridget swallowed the lump in her throat, blinking back the tears that threatened to spill. She had been strong for so long, through the endless doctor visits, through the late-night ambulance rides, through the whispers of family, members who had already begun to prepare themselves for the inevitable. But in this moment, sitting beside the man who had been her whole world, her strength faltered. Michael turned his head slowly, his lips parting in a faint smile. "Bridgie," his voice cracked, broken but still tender, still carrying that warmth she had always loved. "Shh, baby, don't strain yourself," she whispered, brushing a damp curl from her forehead. "No," he said softly, squeezing her hand with what little strength he had left. "I need you to hear me. I need you to remember." Her tears betrayed her then, sliding down her cheeks in hot streaks. "I'm here, Michael. I'm listening." His gaze, though clouded by pain, remained locked on hers. "My heart? It's always been yours, always, and when I'm gone, it'll still be yours. My heart will always beat for you." Bridget's sobs broke free, raw and aching. She bent forward, pressing her lips against his hand. "Don't talk like that, please. You're not going anywhere." But they both knew the truth. His body was surrendering, his time nearly done. And yet, in his final moments, he wasn't clinging to life for himself. He was giving her one last promise. When the monitors began their unrelenting flatline, Bridget let out a wail that seemed to shake the walls. Nurses rushed in, doctors moved with urgency. But she knew. She knew before they even said it. Michael Thompson, her husband, her anchor, her everything, was gone. The days that followed blurred together, a fog of grief and silence. The apartment they once filled with laughter now felt like an empty shell. His clothes still hung in the closet. His cologne still lingered in the bathroom. His coffee mug sat half forgotten in the sink. Bridget wandered through the rooms like a ghost, clutching memories too heavy to carry. But amidst the grief, one choice stood like a beacon, a choice she had made in the quiet of the hospital, when the doctor asked about organ donation. "Yes," she had whispered through trembling lips. He would want that. She remembered his words. "My heart will always beat for you." What better way to honor that promise than to let it keep beating, even if not in him? Michael's heart was given to a man she had never met, a stranger. Somewhere out there, a second chance was made possible because Michael loved her enough to leave his heart behind. On the other side of the city, Nicholas Hamilton lay in a different hospital bed, his life hanging by a thread. For months, doctors had warned him. His heart was failing, and time was running out. He had built an empire in the business world, living a life of control, ambition, and success. But none of it mattered now. Money couldn't buy him more days. Power couldn't silence the ticking clock inside his chest. When the call came that a heart was available, he wept. Not because he was afraid, but because he felt unworthy. Someone had to die so that he could live. The surgery was grueling, hours of delicate precision. But when Nicholas opened his eyes to the world again, everything was different. The weight that had sat on his chest for years was gone. His breaths came easier. His body felt lighter. He placed his hand over the steady thrum beneath his ribs. This heart, this miraculous rhythm wasn't his. He closed his eyes, and in the quiet of the hospital room, he whispered, "Thank you. Whoever you are, thank you." Recovery wasn't easy, but Nicholas carried something within him that went beyond medical science. Each day as he regained strength, he felt more than just gratitude. He felt connection. At night, he dreamed of places he had never been. A small living room with warm yellow walls, laughter echoing in the air, a woman's voice soft and melodic, calling someone's name Michael. Sometimes he woke with the sound of that voice lingering, his chest aching with longing. And during the day, when he pressed his palm against his heart, he sometimes whispered to himself, "Whose life am I really living now?" The pull was inexplicable, unsettling, and yet comforting. He couldn't shake the sense that his second chance at life wasn't just his, it was tied to someone else's story, someone else's love. Meanwhile, Bridget's nights were endless. She sat by the window staring at the city lights, clutching Michael's old sweater like a lifeline. Grief came in waves, sometimes quiet and heavy, sometimes fierce and all-consuming. But in the stillness, she sometimes felt something strange, a rhythm, a presence. Once, in the silence of her bedroom, she pressed her hand to her chest and whispered, "Are you still out there, Michael? Is your heart still keeping its promise?" Tears fell freely, but for the first time since his death, there was a faint flicker of comfort. Weeks passed. Nicolas grew stronger, his body adjusting to the gift he had been given. Yet the gratitude inside him burned too fiercely to keep contained. He needed to reach out. He needed to tell the family of the man who saved him what their gift meant. Late one night, sitting at his desk, Nicolas pulled out a sheet of paper. His hands trembled as he began to write. "To the family of my donor, I don't know how to begin to thank you. There are no words that can capture what it means to be given life when mine was slipping away. I live today because of the man you loved, and I don't take that lightly. His heart beats inside me. Every breath I take is because of him. I promise you, I will live this life with gratitude, with honor, carrying his memory with me in every step. I don't know if I deserve this chance, but please know, I will never forget the sacrifice your family made. He lives on not just in me, but in every moment I've been given. From the bottom of my heart, thank you." Nicolas folded the letter, his chest tight with emotion. He didn't know if they would ever read it. He didn't know if they would want to, but he had to send it. For Bridget, the letter arrived on a grey afternoon, tucked between bills and condolences that had long stopped coming. Her fingers hovered over the envelope, her heart pounding. When she opened it and her eyes scanned the words, she broke. Her knees gave way as tears blurred her vision. But she clutched the paper like it was a lifeline. Here was proof. Michael's heart was still out there, beating, alive, and the man who carried it was grateful. For the first time since Michael's death, Bridget allowed herself to breathe. The letter sat on Bridget's lap, long after she had finished reading it, her fingers trembling against the creased edges. Each line of Nicolas's words had cut through her grief, piercing places inside her she thought had gone numb. "His heart beats inside me. Every breath I take is because of him." Her chest ached with both comfort and devastation. Michael's heart hadn't been silenced. It lived on, steady and strong, inside a stranger. The thought should have brought her peace, yet it twisted her soul. This man, this Nicolas Hamilton, carried not just Michael's heart, but his promise. She pressed the letter to her chest and whispered into the silence of her apartment, "Michael, is this what you meant? That your heart would always beat for me?" The faint hum of the refrigerator was her only reply. Still, she closed her eyes and let herself believe, for the first time in weeks, that he was still near. Bridget didn't reply right away. Days passed, her emotions warring inside her. Part of her wanted to shove the letter in a drawer and forget it existed. Another part wanted to write back immediately, to hold on to the strange comfort Nicolas's words had given her. But what would she even say? That she was grateful? That she hated him for living while Michael didn't? That she wanted to know if the heartbeat inside him still carried her? Husband's love. It wasn't until the fourth night, when sleep refused to come, that she sat at her kitchen table, staring at a blank sheet of paper. She picked up her pen with shaking hands. "Mr. Hamilton, I don't know how to respond to your letter. Truthfully, I almost didn't. The grief of losing my husband still clings to me like a shadow I can't escape. But when I read your words, I felt something I didn't expect, comfort, hope, even pain. All at once. Michael was my husband. He was only 35, too young to leave this world, too young to leave me. He told me once before he passed that his heart would always beat for me. I thought it was just a metaphor, a way to ease the fear of goodbye. But now it's real. His heart still beats. In you. I don't know if I'm ready to meet you. I don't know if I can look into your eyes and hear his heartbeat. But I want to thank you for writing to me. Thank you for reminding me that a part of him lives on. Maybe one day I'll be ready. Sincerely, Bridget Thompson. Tears stained the paper before she even sealed the envelope. When Nicholas received her reply, he sat in silence, staring at the handwriting as if it was sacred. His chest tightened with emotion as he read her words. Each one a thread tying him closer to the woman who had loved the man, who saved his life. Michael was my husband. The sentence hit him like a blow. The name, the love embedded in it. It gave identity to the silent donor who had changed his fate. He whispered the name under his breath, almost reverently. Michael. He read the letter again and again, lingering on the line that shattered and rebuilt him all at once. His heart still beats. In you. That night, Nicholas lay awake, his hand pressed to his chest. For the first time since his surgery, he didn't feel like the heart inside him was foreign. It wasn't just borrowed, it was a bridge. Weeks passed, and letters became their tether. Nicholas wrote of his recovery, of how each morning felt like a gift he didn't deserve. He wrote of his gratitude, his confusion, the way he sometimes felt emotions that weren't his own, like sudden surges of longing, of warmth, of sorrow. Sometimes I feel like I'm living pieces of a life that wasn't mine, he confessed in one letter. And yet, when I write to you, Bridget, it doesn't feel like I'm living someone else's story. It feels like I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. Bridget, hesitant at first, began to open up. She wrote of her life with Michael, the way he would hum while cooking breakfast, the way he always left love notes in her purse, the way he held her hand even when they fought. You should know the man whose heart you carry, she wrote. He wasn't perfect, but he was mine. And if his heart gave you life, then I hope you live it the way he did, fully, fiercely and with love at the center. The letters were emotional confessions. They couldn't have spoken aloud to anyone else. Through ink and paper their souls touched, slowly bridging the chasm between grief and gratitude. One evening, Bridget sat at her table. Nicholas's latest letter spread out before her. When I think about meeting you, I imagine it will feel like déjà vu, as if I've known you forever. Maybe that sounds strange, but this connection, it feels bigger than both of us. Almost like fate. If you're ready, I'd like to see you. No pressure. Just two people connected by a heartbeat, sharing space. She traced the words with her fingertip, her chest tight. For weeks she had convinced herself she wasn't ready. The thought of facing him terrified her, but his sincerity, his gentleness, his unwavering gratitude, it pulled at her like a tide. Could she look at him and hear Michael's heart? Could she bear the weight of that sound? And yet part of her yearned to. That night, Bridget dreamed of a man she had never met, tall, kind-eyed, with a hand pressed against his chest. He smiled at her, and she woke with her own heart racing. Nicholas, meanwhile, lived in restless anticipation. Every day he checked the mail, hoping for her reply. Every night he imagined her face, her voice, the way it might feel to finally stand before her. He didn't know why he cared so much. He should have been satisfied just to be alive. But Bridget had become more than the widow of his donor. Through her words, she had become his confidant, his anchor. He needed her in ways he didn't fully understand. When her letter finally arrived, his hands shook so badly he almost tore the envelope. Mr. Hamilton, I've thought about your words for days, maybe weeks. I told myself I wasn't ready, that it would be too painful. But the truth is, I feel the same inexplicable pull you do. It's as though Michael's heart is guiding me, urging me toward you. I don't know what this meeting will bring, comfort, closure, or maybe more pain. But I want to try. Yes, let's meet. Bridget Thompson. Nicholas exhaled sharply, pressing the letter to his chest. His heart raced, not just his, but Michael's. For the first time since his surgery, he felt whole. The day of their meeting loomed closer, and Bridget's nerves tangled into knots. She stood before her mirror, smoothing the front of her blouse, whispering to her reflection, "You can do this." This wasn't a date. It wasn't even friendship yet. It was simply two lives colliding in the aftermath of one man's death. And yet, deep down, she knew it was more. As she walked toward the cafe where they had agreed to meet, her palms grew damp, her steps heavy. She could almost hear Michael's voice in her ear. "My heart will always beat for you. Maybe, just maybe." This was how he was keeping that promise. Nicolas arrived early, his nerves buzzing like electricity under his skin. He had faced boardrooms filled with ruthless investors, but nothing compared to this moment. He sat at a corner table, his hand over his chest, waiting. When the door opened and Bridget stepped inside, time seemed to stall. She was radiant, though her eyes carried the weight of grief. Her dark curls framed her face, her posture graceful but hesitant. Nicolas rose to his feet, breath caught in his throat. Their eyes met across the room, and something unspoken passed between them. Recognition, connection, an inexplicable familiarity. It felt like home. The cafe was warm and buzzing with the soft hum of conversation, the clinking of cups, and the faint aroma of roasted coffee beans. Outside, the late autumn chill painted the New Jersey streets in muted gray. But inside, time seemed suspended. Nicolas stood awkwardly near the corner table, his palms damp despite the calm exterior he tried to maintain. His heart thudded wildly, Michael's heart. He thought with reverence as his eyes locked on the woman stepping inside. Bridget, she hesitated just beyond the doorway, her dark curls brushing against her cheek as she scanned the room. Her eyes landed on him, and for a moment the noise of the cafe melted away. It was as if he had known her for years. She walked toward him slowly, each step deliberate, her face a mixture of grief, strength, and something fragile that mirrored the emotions swirling inside him. Nicholas's breath caught as she drew closer. "Mrs. Thompson?" he asked softly, his voice almost breaking. She nodded, her lips pressed into a thin line as though holding back words or tears. "Bridget," she said, her voice gentle but steady. "Please, just Bridget." Nicholas's throat tightened. Bridget. Saying her name felt natural, almost intimate, like it belonged to his tongue. He gestured toward the chair opposite him. "Thank you for coming." She slid into the chair, folding her hands in her lap to steady them. For a moment they simply stared at each other, silence stretching between them, heavy yet comforting. Finally, Bridget spoke. "I wasn't sure I'd actually do this. I almost turned around twice." Nicolas gave a faint smile, one that didn't quite reach his eyes. "I almost did too. Not because I didn't want to meet you, but because... How do you prepare for something like this? What words could possibly be enough?" Bridget's gaze softened. "Your letter was enough." Emotion swelled in his chest. He reached across the table, hesitated, then placed his hand over his heart instead. "Every beat I feel reminds me of him. And of you. It's strange, this connection. I don't understand it, but it feels real." Bridget blinked rapidly, tears threatening. Her fingers twitched, then lifted, crossing the small space between them. Tentatively, she placed her hand over his chest, directly above the steady rhythm beneath his ribs. Nicolas froze, overwhelmed by the intimacy of the moment. She closed her eyes, her palm pressed firmly against him. "That's Michael," she whispered, her voice trembling. "That's his heart. I'd know that rhythm anywhere." Nicolas swallowed hard, his own eyes burning. "It's yours too, Bridget. I may carry it, but it beats because of you, because he loved you enough to give it." Her hand lingered there as though she couldn't bear to let go. When she finally withdrew, she whispered, "It feels like I'm losing him all over again. And yet, it feels like I've found him." The conversation unfolded slowly, tenderly. They spoke about Michael, Bridget sharing stories that painted him not as a patient, but as a man who lived fully. "He loved to dance," she said with a wistful smile, "even when there wasn't any music. He'd just pull me close in the kitchen and sway, humming some off-key tune. He said the world always gave us music if we just listened." Nicholas chuckled softly. "I think I felt that once. A few weeks after the surgery, I found myself humming a tune I didn't recognize. It was comforting. Maybe it was him." Bridget's eyes widened, her breath hitching. "Maybe." Nicholas leaned forward, his voice dropping. "It's strange, Bridget. I've spent my whole life chasing success, chasing the next deal, the next milestone. But since the surgery, I feel emotions I can't explain. Like longing for places I've never been. Like missing someone I've never met. And when I see you," his voice faltered, "it feels like I've known you forever." Her tears spilled then, unrestrained. "I feel it too. It terrifies me." He reached across the table, his hand hovering until she let him take hers. Their fingers intertwined, and it felt natural, as though this connection had always been waiting for them. After coffee, neither wanted to leave. Nicolas suggested a walk and Bridget agreed. They strolled along the Hudson River, the water reflecting the fading glow of twilight. The wind tugged at her curls, and Nicolas found himself watching her, memorizing the way she looked when the city lights painted her skin in warm tones. "Do you ever wonder why?" he asked suddenly. "Why what? Why Michael's heart found me? Why we're here together, walking like this?" Bridget wrapped her coat tighter around herself. "I used to wonder why God would take him from me. Why me? Why us? But maybe the better question is, why not? None of us get to choose the way life twists." She glanced at him. But maybe Michael's heart wasn't done loving. Maybe it needed a new way. Nicolas stopped walking, her words piercing through him. He turned to her fully, his face earnest. "Maybe his heart led me to you." She held his gaze, breathless. "Don't say that unless you mean it." "I do," he said firmly. "Bridget, I don't know what this is or what it's supposed to be, but I feel it. Every time I look at you, every time I hear your voice, it's like home." She closed her eyes briefly, steadying herself against the storm of emotions. When she opened them again, she whispered, "I'm afraid to love again, afraid to lose again." Nicolas stepped closer, careful, reverent. "Then let me be the one who proves love can heal too. I won't rush you. I won't push. But I need you to know I feel something for you, Bridget. Something I can't ignore." Her tears glistened in the lamplight. She didn't answer with words. Instead, she reached for his hand, holding it tightly as they continued their walk in silence. Over the weeks that followed, Bridget and Nicolas saw more of each other. Dinners turned into long talks. Walks stretched late into the night. She showed him pieces of Michael, his favorite jazz records, the park bench where he used to read, the small garden he tended with care. And yet Nicolas wasn't Michael. He didn't try to be. He listened, he laughed, he learned Bridget's rhythms. One evening, after a simple dinner at her apartment, they sat in the living room, the glow of a single lamp softening the space. A record spun quietly in the background, Michael's favorite, though Nicolas didn't know. Without a word, Nicolas stood and extended his hand. "May I?" Bridget hesitated, memories flashing like lightning. Then, with trembling fingers, she placed her hand in his. They began to dance, slow and unsteady at first, then more natural as Nicolas pulled her closer. Bridget rested her head against his chest, listening. The steady thump beneath her ear made her body tremble. Michael's heart, Nicolas's warmth, both at once. "I don't know what scares me more," she whispered, hearing this heartbeat again, or realizing it's not just his anymore. Nicolas tightened his embrace, his voice low. "Maybe that's the point. Maybe his heart was always meant to find you again. Through me." Bridget broke down then, sobbing into his chest. "Don't let go, Nicolas. I don't think I could survive losing this heartbeat twice." He pressed his lips gently to her hair. "I'm not going anywhere, Bridget. Not this time, not ever." For the first time since Michael's death, Bridget allowed herself to hope. For the first time since his surgery, Nicolas felt like his life truly belonged to him. And as they swayed together in that quiet living room, two souls connected by one heart, both knew this was only the beginning. The winter snow had come early to New Jersey, dusting the streets in white, blanketing the city in a fragile kind of silence. Bridget stood by her apartment window, looking out at the falling flakes. For years, snow had been a reminder of emptiness, cold nights without Michael, hollow mornings without laughter. But this year, as she turned from the window, there was warmth. Nicolas sat on her couch, sipping coffee, a soft smile on his lips as he looked at her. His presence filled the space Michael had once occupied, not replacing him, but building something new. She walked toward him, her heart unsteady in a way that wasn't grief anymore. "You look too comfortable," she teased gently. He grinned, setting his cup aside. "Maybe because this feels like home." Her chest tightened. Home. That was what she had lost when Michael died. And somehow, impossibly, it was what Nicolas had given back. Their love had blossomed slowly, tenderly, with patience and reverence. Nicolas never tried to erase Michael. Instead, he honored him. He listened to every story, visited every place Bridget wanted to share, even sat with her in silence when grief resurfaced. But with every passing day, Bridget found herself laughing again, smiling again, Living again. One evening, Nicholas took her hand as they walked through the park, where Michael once used to read. The pond was frozen, children skating nearby, their laughter rising into the crisp air. "Bridget," Nicholas said, his voice trembling slightly, "I've been given a second chance at life, and I don't want to waste a moment of it. You've given me more than a heart, you've given me hope. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I want to face it with you." She squeezed his hand, her eyes misty. "I was so afraid to let myself love again. But you've made me realize something, Nicholas. Love doesn't die. It changes, it grows, but it never disappears. You're proof of that." Weeks later, Nicholas planned something he had thought about for months. He took her to the riverside where Bridget had once scattered Michael's ashes, a place of both sorrow and release. The evening sun painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, the Hudson River glimmering beneath it. Bridget paused, her breath catching at the sight of the place. "Why here?" she whispered, her voice fragile. Nicolas turned to her, pulling a small box from his coat pocket. His hands shook, not from fear of rejection, but from the enormity of what he felt. "Because this place is where you let go of the past," he said softly, "and I want it to be where we start our future." Her lips parted, eyes widening as he knelt on one knee. "Bridget Thompson," Nicholas began, his voice breaking with emotion, "this heart inside me, it may have come from Michael, but every beat now belongs to you. I don't know if it's mine or his, or something greater than both of us. All I know is that it beats because of you. Will you let me spend this second chance at life loving you? Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Bridget's face as she covered her mouth with trembling hands. She had imagined many moments in her life, but never this, never the man who carried. Michael's heart asking to give it to her all over again. "Yes," she whispered, then louder. Her voice shaking, "Yes, Nicholas, yes." He slipped the ring onto her finger, and when she collapsed into his arms, the world felt whole again. The wedding was small, intimate, filled with people who understood the depth of their journey. Bridget wore a simple ivory gown, elegant and graceful, her curls flowing freely around her shoulders. Nicholas stood at the altar in a navy suit, his eyes locked on her, as though she was the only person in the world. As she walked toward him, clutching a bouquet of white roses, Bridget felt her heart flutter in a rhythm she hadn't felt in years. It wasn't fear, it was love, alive and strong. The officiant's words faded into the background. All Bridget saw was Nicholas, tears brimming in his eyes. When it came time for vows, Nicholas's voice trembled with reverence. "I once lived on borrowed time," he said, "but then I was given a heart, and through that I was given you. Bridget, I promise to love you with every beat of this heart, for as long as it beats. My heart will always beat for you." Gasps rippled through the small crowd, the weight of his words sinking into everyone present. Bridget's tears flowed freely as she spoke her vows in return. "Michael once promised me his heart would always beat for me. I thought that promise died with him. But then I found you, Nicholas, and I realized it never left. It just found its way back to me. I promise to honor this gift, to love you fully, and to never forget the miracle that brought us here. My heart will always belong to you." The room erupted in applause as they sealed their vows with a kiss, both trembling with the enormity of the moment. That night at their small reception, Nicolas led Bridget to the dance floor. A soft melody filled the room, and he pulled her into his arms. She rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady thump beneath his ribs. The rhythm was strong, alive, filled with promise. For a moment, she closed her eyes and let herself imagine Michael, his smile, his warmth. She whispered silently to him, "Thank you, for this, for him." And then she opened her eyes, looking up at Nicholas, seeing her present and future all in one. "I love you," she said simply, her voice breaking. "I love you too," he whispered back, pressing his lips to her temple. "And I always will." As they swayed together, surrounded by family, friends, and the echoes of a love story that had defied death itself, Bridget realized something profound. Love never truly ends. It transforms. It finds new ways to beat, new ways to live. And as she held Nicholas close, listening to the heart that once belonged to Michael, she knew this was where she was always meant to be. Later that night, when they were alone, Bridget lay with her head on Nicholas's chest, lulled by the sound of his heartbeat. She whispered into the darkness, her fingers tracing lazy circles over his shirt. "This sound used to hurt me," she admitted softly. "It reminded me of everything I lost, but now it reminds me of everything I've found." Nicolas kissed her hair, his voice thick with emotion. "Then let it remind you of us, of love that doesn't die, but lives on in ways we can't explain. My heart will always beat for you. Bridget, always." The snow continued to fall outside, blanketing the world in silence. But inside there was only warmth, the warmth of two souls connected by one heart, beating not for the past but for the future. And as Bridget drifted to sleep in Nicolas's arms, she smiled, her heart finally at peace. Some loves don't end. Some promises don't break. Some hearts never stop beating. And that brings us to the end of this beautiful journey. Bridget and Nicolas's love reminds us that even through loss, love has a way of finding us again, sometimes in the most unexpected ways. Thank you for sharing this moment with me, for listening, and for allowing your heart to be touched by their story. Until next time, remember, some hearts never stop beating, and true love always finds its way. The Beaten Heart. Vintage Mike Tales.